Hey everyone, we are back. How's it going out there in Westworld land? Hopefully you're having fun at the Delos Corporation's expense. And while Westworld is down, maybe you're running amok in there. We have a few riots, people stealing TVs. Oh wait, where did the TVs come from? They had them in the Mesa Hub. I'm sorry, I started off on a tangent. This is Johnny B. Crazy, and we will be talking Westworld. The God figure, Robert Ford, today. And as always, I have my lovely co-host Mackenzie L. Burns with me in the chat. On the panel today. And look who just popped in, Fandom D Saint, and also AU Packmule. AU, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself? Then we'll go in reverse order.
I'm always going to say ladies first.
I do it to him every time.
So I guess I will go first. As always, I am Mackenzie L. Burns, and I'm always on Johnny's channel or my own channel or somebody else's channel. And every Wednesday, as of next week, we will be doing Episode Club Season 1, Episode 10, Fire and Blood, before we go 2 times a week. And after Season 1 ends, we are going to be doing a recap of Season 1, where when we talk about favorite houses, favorite episode, favorite characters, and like favorite quotes and stuff like that, just so we can get more people involved and start the refresh of Episode Club into Season 2. But other than that, I will pass it on back to Johnny.
No, I mean, that's going to be a blast. We love your episode club. Everyone, check it out if you haven't. She's linked in the description below. Since we're going ladies first, Fandom D Saint, or AKA BBM, why don't you go next, Miss Lannister?
Talking about ladies first. It's age before beauty. Age before beauty.
So I'm assuming that means I better go quick before I die. Thanks, David. I appreciate it. Johnny, it's good to see you. Mackenzie, I'm really looking forward to watching that video. That's going to be fun. Yeah, it's always a great time. Johnny was 100% right. Everybody, I'm John, known as from my channel, AU Packmule, and you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, what else? Instagram, all under AU Packmule. And come and say hi anytime. You can email me at aupackmule@gmail.com if you want. And glad to collaborate with everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day. And this is going to be one of those live streams that are probably way too deep for our shallow minds. So hope you guys can hang on and stay with us.
We got really deep in the beginning already. Before I let Phantom D Saint introduce himself, we have Entertainment Hacker in the chat with us. He's a good friend of the channel, and it's very nice for him to come into the chat. Go check his channel out; it's very good. He has a lot of Star Wars content and other content. I really enjoy his videos. You should check it out. His stuff is actually linked in the descriptions below as well. And Phantom D Saint, what's going on, man?
For starters, thanks for having me. Don't know why you invited me to one of the most complex characters on the show, besides Teddy, obviously. But thank you for having me. Fandom D Saint, do several reaction, recap, and reviews of several TV shows. So let's just get to this podcast, or stream, I should say. Like, I've been doing so much podcasts lately, I can't even tell the difference, really.
Yeah, you sound tired, man. You sound tired.
Yeah, I took a nap before, coming on here. I should never do that again.
Yeah, I can see the bags under your eyes and your cartoon avatar. So we'll get this going for you, buddy. So our initial thoughts, the first time we see Ford is with Old Bill or Wild Bill down in cold storage. Basically, we get the whole speech about the lady with the white shoes, and then we hear about the reveries and the mistakes. Basically, what's your first impressions of Ford? And we'll start with Mackenzie.
Well, the prelude to everyone meeting Ford for the first time is this like the boss, like for Bernard and stuff. So like you're gonna go interrupt the boss or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it said, but it's like, and then you see the Ford and Old Bill having this conversation, and he's talking about how Old Bill works and how like they only had limited movement, and you can tell that they were robots because of how like their hand gestures were and such like that. So you can tell that he's invested in his business and that he's invested in the creation process and the development and all of that sort of thing. But you can also see that there's something behind that. It's like there's something that's like brewing on the inside, like, and you're almost intrigued into wondering how did this man seemingly by himself, because this is at this point, I'm not sure if we remember correctly if they had mentioned the business partner or not, but like because they said like this is the boss, so it's like if this person created this whole thing by himself, it's like you can tell that he is invested in his beings or his creatures, and that it's just him talking to Bernard, which we later find out about, like, how long have you been with us, Bernard? It's like since not long after the Swans were decommissioned, but you can sort of tell his relationships with his subordinates is sort of positive, but then you have like the overarching control over everybody, including the host.
Right, to your point, you kind of see him almost as an immediately tough love father figure. Hey, you would like to add to that?
Yeah, I thought for sure when I first saw him, he was doing a lot of reminiscing. Wild Bill was actually one of the originals, and when you saw the difference between his hand gestures and his ability to move and talk and tell a story was super limited, so I could tell it was obviously a very old host, and Robert gave me the impression that he was doing some soul searching in regards to what he was creating, and the fact that they had to walk through all of these decommissioned hosts to get to Wild Bill really told me that he had gone through this journey of what he started, and now we're looking at why is he reminiscing, why is he contemplating the journey that he's gone through, and what are the results going to be. I really liked that it was that they had to go through those decommissioned hosts to get to Wild Bill. Yeah, it was just an observation that I had.
Very astute and good observation. I never really even thought about it like that. That's the amazing thing about the show. You can see it from so many different perspectives. We'll get more into that as we talk about Ford's character and what we thought, kind of his facade he put on this season. Go ahead, Eddie.
I was just going to say, I'm really old, so I had a different perspective than you do.
Whatever. Hey, it's the forehead that helps me out. Go ahead, BBM or Fandom D Saint. Good, sir.
So yeah, first impressions of Ford. It's like I'm thinking like he's like an old fashioned type of dude. It's like, why on earth of all the hosts you want to have a conversation with, why would you bother, talking to like one of the original hosts? To that, the whole conversation, even like with the whole quote, oh, toast to the one with white shoes, is like, wait a minute. It's like, am I supposed to now look at everyone's, shoes and say, okay, who's going to be this person? Immediately, I thought it was kind of like Dolores because that was like the first female we ever got to see. But till then, it was just very intriguing individual.
Yeah, it's almost like he was reminiscing on the old days, for sure, in that moment, thinking back upon past revelations. And, we kind of see him next. It's when, Abernathy's acting funky and Bernard is confronting him about it, and he starts to talk about evolution. and he starts to talk about what we did to Neanderthals, and he starts to talk about the products of mistakes. And if you would like to expand on that, we'll start with BBM first, then go with AU, and then Kenzie.
So yeah, just hearing that alone, it's like, okay, like what is Ford planning? Is he trying to get rid of humanity, start something new with these hosts? That was like the first thing. And immediately I got like vibes, okay, is this going to be like our antagonist for the series when he said this conversation?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So when I saw him with Abernathy, I just thought, here's a guy who's super smooth. He's totally under control. He has no fear of Peter jumping at him. Like Bernard showed a lot of apprehension about his safety, whereas Ford was like, this guy, I can turn him off in a second. And that was what was really cool to me, is that he has all these safety mechanisms to help him with the host, even if they break down. And he also picked up on every clue that he gave as far as hitting that Shakespeare line. I was like, oh, wow. But the fact that he programmed him to be that way, we should know that that's why he did it. But to me, at that time, we didn't know about his previous narratives. So, or that the host had previous narratives. So it was really good to see that.
Yeah, it really showed his control right there. What were your thoughts, Kenzie?
Well, this is like the first time you are like introduced, I guess, to Peter Abernathy. So you can see that he's glitching, and he's just like, it's like not like the other hosts when they meet them in that form, I guess. And he's like glitching, and he's like reset, like saying all the words like reset and all of this stuff. So and then just goes like drops like shoulders and all of that. And then when he's like, what are your previous narratives? It's like father and farmer, and then like they find out that he was first then a sheriff, and then part of a cannibalistic tribe, and like so him like encroaching onto Ford and like showing somewhat of a dominant power. You'd think that someone who is faced with essentially a robot is like saying all these like villainous words that they would be slightly afraid. But like you all had said, like that the power of Robert Ford and him not being afraid and not, I guess, standing down in a sense to a robot that he can easily control in like either a snap of a finger, a glance, or something that for him to settle back down was a very cool thing to see. And that they just like, and the fact that he didn't remember, or he was asked about what his previous narratives was a little bit confusing, because you'd think as the father figure or the god-like figure, he would know all of his children in and out. But over time, I guess when you create hundreds of thousands of these, or at least hundreds of them, that you would maybe tend to forget certain things. But that's besides the point.
Yeah, that's some really good points. And everything we've said so far, it shows Ford as being almost definitely the antagonist at this point, as what we're seeing. And we get him not having any empathy toward the host, or at least showing publicly that he has no empathy by revealing them, not letting them be covered up, pretty much shaming the tech. Also, it kind of makes you want to get into Ford's complete, when was your oh shit moment with Ford in season 1, when you realize that this guy right here not only has control of the host, it seemingly has control over what the people are doing in the park. And we'll start with AU on that one.
For me, it probably wasn't until he introduced us to his family through Bernard. I think that's when it was like, there is so many layers to this guy that we cannot possibly know, not only his motives, but how far he can go to control what he wants. The scene with Teresa, I think, is the overpowering moment that most people will pick, just because of the number of hosts that he was in control of. But by far, the scene with his family was just fantastic.
Yeah, we'll expand on the scene with the family in just a second. Mackenzie, what was your oh shit moment with 4 season 1?
Well, there's like so many. But I feel like it may be even later in the game, because like before it's just like, oh yeah, like this, that, and the other thing. But it's probably when, because I can't remember which episode that he kills, like has Teresa killed. But it's probably that, and then the fact that he's instantly able to cover it up and pretend that she was actually somewhere completely different. She like was in the basement and it happened like where they found her. It was the fact like he was there when she died and was basically ordered her to be killed, like executed in a sense. And he's just like, I don't know what happened. Like you figure it all out what it was. But to also have her sustain injuries that I guess would be somewhat consistent with what they were saying that she died from, like to even plan like that far ahead and be like, oh, she probably died of this instead of saying something else. Maybe.
Yeah, you made me just that's a good point. That was a powerful scene. You made me think of the point, that little safe he had with all his plans in. I think we see it one time in season 1, him going in there and getting his little, I don't know if it's a folder or his notebook out. Yeah, that was really good. BBM, what was your oh shit moment, man?
It's already been mentioned, like from the scene with Teresa and Robert Ford to finally end up killing her. It's been said time and time again, this man owns Westworld, this park. Like at one point in time, he can pretty much kill anyone. He makes sure if you want to get in and out, it's pretty much going through Ford. And just with those 2 scenes alone, it's a testament to that, So probably be, my OMG, what the F moments of 4 had to be those 2 scenes alone.
Yeah, I guess in between that would be the agave plantation, where he reveals he knows more about Teresa than she knows about herself, basically. Yeah. But yeah, there's so many moments you could choose, because he just really shows his power throughout. And let's kind of go back to this family a little bit, to your point, AU. That right there. There's a lot of suspicion around there. Do you think that his family is an accurate portrayal? And also, is there a bigger picture to him keeping his family around? Because it seems like he has no love for his father, or really any of his family members besides his young self or Jacques. It makes no sense why he's keeping them around. There seems to be a bigger purpose. Something's amiss there.
Yeah, it is kind of a strange thing, because he's I think LMR talks about him being so emotionally detached and how that scares him or scares her. And I think that's one of the things that we notice right away, is that he has no emotional attachment to anybody once they cross him. You definitely get the sense that he has an emotional attachment to Bernard. But as far as his family goes, I think he keeps them because of his love for Arnold, much more so than anything about his actual family. And there was another part that you had asked about. Are they an accurate portrayal? Is that I think they're more now an accurate portrayal, much more so than what Arnold had originally made for him. I think that was kind of a romanticized, just because it was based on a vacation trip that he had taken, which was unusual. Whereas everyday life, if he would have shown them in that environment, it would have been different.
Even though that was his best memory of his childhood, right? Was that vacation, which seems pretty crappy if that's accurately portrayed. Yeah, what are your thoughts, BBM?
Concerning Ford's parents there, like,
Well, you can get into a conspiracy theory or anything you want, whether or not they're accurately portrayed, whether there's something going on with his brother, because we don't know anything that happened with Ford's family except Arnold recreated his best family or childhood moment and recreated his family. We don't really hear much. Just kind of your thoughts on that, and you can spring from that whatever you would like, man.
for starters, if we ever get more of Robert Ford in season 3, I wish that they dive into more of the brother for some reason. Like, that'd be like one interesting thing. I wish the route that they can take for season 3 concerning him. But with the family, of how accurate it could be, I highly doubt it's any inaccurate, as if it's accurate to like the T. Because again, it's like who created it was Arnold, or like one specific reason I still can't remember at this point, unless they actually did reveal to it. Someone like will let me know. But like, if anything, the way how I kind of see, like he just keeps it around because when he was growing up, he probably was just not. It was probably just a complex, family to the point that now that he has them around, he can pretty much control them and just kind of create like new fond memories as opposed to like what it actually was. That's what I always saw. Because even like when we saw, they were even like around in season 2, so it's like, what was the point of the whole thing? Except for like his younger version.
Yeah, where no, they disappeared somewhere. Oh, they're coming. There's something to that. Just like Akichita and Ghost Nation. I don't believe they were called Ghost Nation at the time. They were separate from this whole disaster, right? This is how I think Arnold's or Bernard's family is going to be separate from this disaster, and there's something going to spring from that. There's way more to that, I believe. Unless they're just going to completely cut them out and overlook it. But knowing Westworld, I think there's more there. Do you have any more thoughts on that, Kenzie? And then yeah. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
Probably like if the host family that is supposed to resemble his own, it's probably one of the easiest I guess examples or like easiest people to recreate is people that you know, maybe in a sense for him, just to test out like memories and like if they could like if memories could be manipulated and like other things like that, because you can easily make a complete other characters and create a whole new storyline, but to maybe have his own family in a way that he can control, like because he was obviously a child in the entire situation, but now that he's an adult, but he can manipulate his childhood self or a childhood self like being that resembles his own storyline in a sense, like his childhood storyline. That may like he's playing. It's like, what is it? Like you're playing God within your own story arc, and like if you could those advice columns where it's like if you could tell yourself at this age how life would be like, it's almost manipulating it for himself. And one more, I guess, thought on that is that yeah, they could come up in season 3, or like the backstory of the family could be more prevalent in season 3. Just because we don't really have the physical form of Ford anymore, but have like the backstory, which can be more fleshed out.
Right, and we start to, we're going to come back to that, and there's some very good points. It made me think of a couple of things about his personal life that I think we'll get to. But right now, where he's evolving to at this point is this is kind of my main, a really big question. So, does he want to achieve actual immortality as himself, or does he want to achieve it through his work as host or code, being like music? As the famous quote about Beethoven and Mozart and Chopin, you know. So basically, my thing is, well, what do you think Ford's master plan with all this is at the end of season one, and what about it changed during season two, if anything? And who hasn't went first yet? And BBM? Is it BBM?
Yeah, I think I go first because I think AU went first with the family, right? So yeah, because it seems like Ford's goal like switched because ever since he saw Akishita, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, that's when everything began to change. So at this point, it seems like he still wants to, be remembered through his work. Because I don't think that if he wanted to pick a host body, he probably would have done it by now. At this point, like that's what a lot of us kind of thought that was going to happen to him within season two, but mainly that wasn't the case. So I still think that he just wants to like live through his work at this point.
That's a good point. I still feel like we have a missing hybrid control unit or maybe that just got lost in the shuffle. But your thoughts, Mackenzie, and then I believe AU bringing up the rear as always.
Well, there's like, I guess, maybe even a combination of the two. Maybe he wants to achieve immortality for himself, but then also have his legacy, even though he would never die, is the host. Like he would have both his life be like theirs, but has more control in a sense. And then there's like this note that I have that's basically his drawn out like master plan that someone has come up with. And the long and the short is the first point is create a host being Bernard Lowe in the style and the resemblance of Arnold Weber. So he can have someone by his side and someone who he can trust and always have power over no matter what situation they're in. Like being the assistant and then the chief engineer. And then it talks more and more about it. But then the last sort of point is that the reveal of the final narrative or his final story is the first step in the overthrow, more or less a violent overthrow of the Delos Corporation, creating the next step in the evolutionary process. Because he had it all sort of planned out. Like you can probably tell that the Therese to kill was obviously maybe even staged / planned, as we find out with the mixture of the Bernard storyline added in, and a bunch more, like even the control over Sizemore and other characters. Like this was a systematic step that he went through, and he had this massive plan, and all in the back of their heads was the Wyatt narrative that he could just slip in whenever he needed to. And the perfect time was for us in the timeline is the finale, where he makes sure that Dolores has that click in her head that she is the Wyatt narrative and that the Wyatt narrative is carried out, which can segue into what we can talk about afterwards. But yeah, just he has a lot of master plans.
Yeah, that makes me start to think of the last person who remembers you, and we'll get into that for a second. AU Packmule, go. I got an M. Night Shyamalan twist for this one at the end.
Sounds good. So Kenzie hit it right on the money. I think for the most part, Ford wants to be remembered as the creation of this new species. And I think that was what was revealed at the end of season 2, much more so than what we thought. He actually saw the defects in the Delos Corporation's journey into creating these other hosts that live forever but have the DNA or the backbone of the human. And he was able to actually overcome that to the point where he's able to have an entire family, which exactly 5, if you look at his original family, including the dog, of course. But that's what he's going to start with in the new world. So it's just an incredible thing that he's able to do, starting off with someone like Wild Bill and seeing the evolution with Stubbs, Bernard, etc., Maeve. I mean, just one superstar after another in regards to where they're at, and then just develop into someone that's both artificial and real at the same time.
Yeah, kind of to add to that, like Ford is going to see his plan through to the bitter end, right? Whether he's alive or dead. I know you're not probably going to like this, but what if Bernard or Dolores or Maeve, I think I could see a few scenarios where either of them could bring back Ford at the very end. That could be like and Ford comes back, like the father comes back, type thing. Now, would it be Ford literally? I don't know. That's where you get into the whole the last person who remembers you thing. And do y'all want to? We could talk about that and get into whether that's a red herring, the last person who remembers you, or is that just something they changed mid-show? What do you think, Kenzie?
It could be a thing that was established when, like, over the evolution of the Delos Corporation and the Westworld Park, like, initiative, like, everything. But it also could easily be a red herring. But then that calls into question the whole Dolores bringing Bernard back situation, because then it's like, ha, I tricked you, if it's that kind of thing. It's possible it's a red herring, but then it calls into question kind of the end of season 2, or whenever the characters are brought back that are forgotten, in a sense. Ford could come back. That could be a big, even though I don't know if the actor if he was on for like the two series, as they say in the UK, the 2 seasons or not. It's possible that he could make a cameo or a flashback or something.
Probably see him come back as like a young Ford, I would think. Instead of in the old body, I think you'd want like his prime body, right?
Yeah.
And it's really biblical, so you'd probably say like the 27-year-old body. That's a biblical type show. I don't know what age
Let me guess,
that is.
Johnny, you're 27.
No, 34. I can't remember what the age is. There's an age that in heaven you don't age past, like that prime age or whatever. I can't remember though.
But yeah, it would be like you could see that there'd be a flashback to his old self, maybe in season 3. But if he was to come back, it would probably be the young when he was starting up the whole park and everything. Would be a cool spot to come, because then that could be almost like the thing where it's like Dolores maybe remembers that point. It may be a thing where it calls into question if she remembers everything, because that was a big point from season 1, is her trying to remember everything that had happened. So there could be a point where she maybe remembers what young Ford was like, or even because now that she kind of knows that Bernard is a copy of Arnold Weber, there may be the young or a copy of Ford that's out there, or that they could make to trick everybody.
Yeah, I could see something like that happening. I don't know. It's weird with that. Go ahead, AU. Yeah, trying to process it.
What? Oh, okay. I was gonna say, why don't you go ahead? But
well, I would say that they definitely could bring Ford back in a twist. I could see Bernard doing it, especially after thinking about the moment on the beach and Bernard realizing that that's not Ford, that's himself, and then that's the maze. And we've seen Dolores basically do that with Bernard the first season, right? So it's kind of I think it's going to be a circular thing where Bernard's going to end up bringing him back. That could be like the twist shocker. Uh, Also, what's really the end game here? I kind of want to go back to his motivations. He sees humanity as a scourge. What happened to this man? Did Arnold do something to this man? But BBM, I want you to give your thoughts first. Also, yeah, BBM and AU, I want you to give your thoughts on the previous stuff first, but we'll get into the other. Sorry. Get on my tangents.
I'm not sure who was turn because you was on AU. He asked a question. Did he respond?
No, you go right ahead.
Okay, so I'm in agreement to Mackenzie because, like what she said, you had season 2 end off, him saying, goodbye to Bernard. You still have him saying bye to Maeve. So it's like, if you just have him return out of the boom season 3, it better be a good reason for this man to return, whoever brings him back. It could be a possibility that, just like how you were talking about earlier, this hybrid, host by that's been, walking around that no one has been noticing. Or it could be, one of the individuals that was in Dolores's pearl, in her purse, whatever. It could be one of Ford, who knows?
No, I'm saying the end of the final season. He's brought back.
The end is a cliffhanger?
Finale. The finale, he's brought back as the father of that race of beings that's left. If the hosts win. That's what I'm saying. I could see him being brought back, like, in the end as part of how they try to shock us. I don't know. It kind of just hit me like something they would do.
And if anything, it's probably this whole time, this is not Dolores, it's probably Ford. Then you just zoom into the eye, and then it's just like the reflection of Ford there. Like, if it happens that way, oh my gosh, I've been crazy. We called it here first. It was Ford this whole time. It's not Dolores. He was just trolling us all, folks.
Yeah, we'll get on Dolores later. Hey, you.
No, I agree. I agree with David. He's definitely one of those guys that has an ultra ego. But I think in this season, we've seen where he used Bernard to get him through that process and then went into Maeve to give her that memory as well and develop that conversation of what is it we're going to do after this? And so I really thought we saw a conclusion of Ford. Personally, I hope he doesn't come back because I think that diminishes his end goal. But I don't think the show is the same without him. I can say that obviously Sir Anthony Hopkins is not only the great actor, but he has that sneaky bastard killer look to him where you just going, what is he up to next? So yeah, I hope he doesn't come back for that reason.
So to that tangent, we have Darren Paul, which I kind of think, what if Ford had an illegitimate son, or Ford has a son that we don't know about? Could that be possible? Could Ford have had a child or any type of family? It seems that he's such a loner. And I kind of don't think so, but I could see it as a long shot. With the casting, that could look like him. They can resemble each other. Yeah, I see you wanted to jump on it. You do it. Oh, you was going to the chat. My bad.
Yeah, I was just saying hi to Laura D.
Oh, man. BBM, what do you think about that? And then I'll let you say hey.
So yeah, if this whole time he had a son, that's just like so left field. Because it's like, if he had a son, why didn't, when he had, the family of hosts, why didn't he put his son there or something? That would have been like, okay, so he pretty much had his family and his son, right out there in that house. It would make sense. Or even that, or you could have just had like a flash. If they're gonna do it, have like a flashback of where, when Arnold first heard about like losing his son, he could be like, oh, well, I too have a son. I can kind of like sympathize with you, because if I lose my son, or maybe I also had a son, type of deal though. But I always like beg the question for me. It's like, why didn't like Bernard ever like, make a host son? Like, he lost it. He could have made, a freaking host hybrid at this point though. But who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I believe Ford is the lone wolf. I think he didn't have a family. That might be something that he's been harboring a grudge against his whole life. Maybe there's some reason that he couldn't procreate. I think there's a little bit of backstory to why he hates humanity as much as he does that we haven't gotten yet. I think we will see that as far as Ford's story, because he still is not in control of everything, but his fingerprints are all over everything we're going to see for the rest of the series. So I would agree with that. What were your thoughts on it, Kenzie?
One more point though. I
go
believe
ahead.
in the theory that Ford this whole time was gay and he had like feelings for Bernard.
I think that's possible. I think that's very possible. Yeah, I'll touch on that in just a second, because I'm going to segue into something very deep. Well,
I think
we're going
what
to
you
talk
mean
about
is
season
Arnold,
2.
not Bernard.
Yeah,
What?
Arnold.
My bad there. Thank you for
okay.
correcting me.
Sorry to be a Stannis.
Last. For Arnold, being able to have a child or have some sort of family that wasn't like his brother and his parent would be a twist, and it's kind of a thing that they could have mentioned maybe in season 2 or before all of this, the storyline had changed. But if it happens and it is that, if they work it into season 3 in a way that makes sense, and it doesn't just like they just drop that bomb on storyline and like we have to figure out the pieces for that, it would be cool. But the whole, if Bernard and Arnold had that type of relationship where it was like unrequited love on one sense, or like one liked the other, it would kind of have the representation, because there isn't that much representation of the LGBTQ perspective of, so because they only have like 1 or 2 characters that even though HBO doesn't, I guess, have to hit a quota per se or pigeonhole that type of storyline into their show, it would add a deeper element into, I believe, the point that Johnny may bring up in a few minutes. But it then at the same time would be almost a bittersweet thing in a sense, that Arnold had his wife and his child, while maybe Ford was either single or he had affections for Arnold, but it was just never reciprocated in a sense. Possible.
Yeah. Would either of y'all like to expand on that before I kind of get into this? This is going to take us a good 20 minutes to talk about this next topic, at least. So if you want to drop anything.
Let's get into it.
Okay. There is significant evidence pointing toward Arnold's death not being portrayed as true, or as a event that is seems to be a false event in my eyes. Something more happened, and Westworld throws a lot of hints out there, and I think Dog City has said this in the chat, and we talked about this before. And we talked about Ford's personal life, not knowing much about it. And one of the few people we know he had a personal life with was Arnold. So, Robert Ford being named after the coward Robert Ford, who shot Jesse James in the back of the head while he was straightening a picture frame in his home, could Ford have killed Arnold and covered up the memory to make it look like Dolores did it? And we'll start with whoever wants to jump on this one first, because it's a loaded one. Because there's multiple. I mean, there's so much motive there that you just throw one out there. Let's talk.
I'm saying this now. If this actually went down that way, and damn, you're a mad genius for like he just simply, killed Arnold the moment he was pretty much just done using him and creating, Westworld. And then just, did certain things to Dolores and make sure that she was quote unquote gaining sentient life to the point that he pretty much created the whole event and just end up killing Bernard. Like, I don't know. That's just too crazy. And he pretty much could do it in a sense, though. I don't know. What do you think, Mackenzie?
Well, let me throw out there that his motivations, Arnold knew that the hosts were conscious, but wanted them to not live. Thought it was an abomination. Ford wants the host to take over and hates humankind. Could this have been the tipping point? Something happened that led up to this, or just want to throw that out there. Go ahead, Mackenzie.
For Ford having or being the catalyst for Arnold being killed, but having it himself do it would be a twist in itself, because then it even twists again the whole Wyatt narrative, because we didn't know who was the one that was responsible for killing Arnold or having Arnold's death, because it was considered a secret from a lot of the hosts, because most people don't remember. Most of the hosts obviously do not remember who he is or know who he is. So for that to be a thing, and for Arnold to have been killed by his business partner, because they didn't both see eye to eye on everything, would be very cool. And it plays that whole thing of Arnold and Ford having control over the hosts. So maybe he made it and manipulated Dolores into believing that she was the person that had killed Arnold, that she was the one to pull the trigger and kill everyone in Sweetwater, wherever they are, and to then shoot Arnold and then kill herself in the end. So it's one of those things where it's like manipulation at its finest, because he's already done it before, so why not do it again with a memory?
It'll make perfect sense, because there's always been, Arnold obsessed with Dolores. So it's very easy just to implement something within Dolores to end up killing Arnold.
And I'm back. Yeah, you also have to remember that Ford was already being sneaky and had a side group of hosts and Akichita and those and the others that Arnold apparently didn't know about. Go ahead, AU.
What is anytime you're talking about the Nolans or Lisa Joy in the writing process, there's always symbolism in everything they've done. So the fact that they use the name Robert Ford is as a dead giveaway. Plus, we've already seen him use Bernard and control, exactly what happened in that situation, with not only him committing murder but removing his memory from it. And we saw the same thing with Teddy. Not only did we see him go through the process of him going through the town and shooting everybody, but then at the end, who does Dolores shoot? The Colonel, not Arnold. So the memory part is easily to override. Not a big deal for Ford. And then, like I said, with the way that he's able to override their programming and their memory, we're never going to see him actually shooting Bernard or Arnold rather, because he has no reason to expose that. So it's not going to help him in any way. So I think we're going to continue seeing hints at that's going to be what actually happened. And it was a good catch. It was a very good catch.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's just weird. Julianne has a great point. Was there a secondary motive in killing Teresa? Because again, even Bernard wanted Teresa and not Ford, in a sense. If the whole storyline. So elaborate, Phantom Descent, on your comment there.
My gosh, it's a crime by passion, y'all. Like, oh my gosh, that's
okay.
why. Oh my goodness, that wouldn't make no
AK's got the popcorn
sense.
out right now. But things do seem to be falling into place. There seems to be a lot of camaraderie there, a lot of respect on both ends, but a lot of animosity. You know, Ford is nice to Bernard as a mentor to Bernard, but he treats him like shit. Like, he doesn't treat him well. The only one he treats well is Maeve. And he treats Dolores relatively well, but Maeve is his baby. And, well, let's get into that. If you do you have any more thoughts? Because I think we pretty much figured it out, you know. Ford killed Arnold. We figured it out here. Boom. Time's down. Mic drop. So, Ford and Maeve. The deep connection there. And it goes back to, could Ford ever have a child? And this makes me think, is Bernard's cornerstone memory possibly Ford's memory of the child he lost? Maybe he lost a child, you know, because it can be, you know, Ford did play Bernard's wife, so it's not like out of the realm of possibility. Just your thoughts on that in general, and you can kind of take it wherever you want to go. Whose turn is it first? Anybody remember? I think AU's goes first.
Ladies first.
Oh, go, Kenzie. Take it away. Sasa.
That may be sorry about the background noise. That may be a connection that the two of them have over the fact of unrequited love. Maybe the fact of a loss of a child. Maybe what continued to bond them besides their baby together being the Delos Corporation and the whole Westworld Park in general, is that they both lost a child, maybe at separate points in their life or something like that. But then the fact of almost for Ford losing the baby being the park and the hosts, and losing Arnold might have went him a little bit crazy, but he knew he had to keep that semblance of the children. Like, you have to, at the same time, if you lose a parent, you have to keep the children sort of in line and protected even more and held more close. So that could be why he like maybe manipulated their narratives in a sense to only have a certain few remember who Arnold was, like having like the person like Dolores remember who he is. It's something like that.
But why do you think Maeve's so special, and why do you think he put her in a relatively safe space like he did, and kept, you know, almost like Akishita was kept away, she was kept away, but knowingly kept away, like there was something special about her from the beginning.
Like, I think you might have mentioned this to me, Johnny, but it's a possibility that it could be that he may not necessarily be a gay character, but he could be maybe even a bisexual character in a sense, where maybe even Maeve was maybe one of the first people that And if she is based off of a human, like it's not that far of a ship to jump, that she could be based off of a human or based off a person that he knew in his past, a woman that he knew in his past that he was involved with potentially. That's why, and maybe something had happened to her. So maybe he kept her in a protected spot when everybody else was able to be free pretty much, because maybe he couldn't protect her in that moment when he maybe lost her. And thought, okay, the easiest thing that I can do is make a version of her and then protect her and like make her my own and like protect it like a childlike thing, or because it is like a young love sort of thing that it might have spawned at that point, and just maybe averted it to make it not look as creepy, as being like, oh, they're on the same level, but just say like my child or the childlike narrative or names.
Yeah, do you think, like, this is kind of maybe my thoughts. Do you think Arnold came up, not Arnold, do you think Ford actually came up with a special code himself that was separate from Arnold, and Maeve was like his first creation and his perfect creation? We have this whole creator creature thing going on here. I, I feel like he stumbled upon something with Maeve by accident. I don't know. Would you like to expand on that? And I know BBM and AU both thought Maeve was going to be Ford. Maybe still will be eventually, but go ahead, AU.
Yeah, I definitely think Ford, now that he's in Maeve's mind, will be there next season, even if it's just as a memory, like we saw with Bernard this year. But as far as the child goes, I don't think there's any reason to believe that Ford is a father. I don't see any evidence that he has any desire to be a father, and he definitely doesn't show any interest in any females. You don't see any pictures of anybody of a female nature, around him, and he's around all the
Even
hosts.
the male hosts. Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Yeah, the male hosts.
No, that's okay. Even the male host, what?
Yeah, that's all he's around. Like, he talks to Wild Bill, he talks to Bernard. What's his name? I can't remember the name. Is it Jim who plays the piano in his office? I can't remember his name, but they're all dudes. There's not one female that he associates with, and this goes back to the point where he very well could have been gay, which would be freaking great plot twist. Go ahead, AU.
When you say a plot twist, I just assumed that.
Yeah, well, not plot twist, but you know how they don't expect us to assume it. They thought Man in Black was a huge reveal, but they kind of muffed that up. I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's been talked about. I don't know.
Well,
I think his sexuality has nothing to do with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they probably just assume that we've either figured he's this way or this way, but
it could be gender neutral. Honestly, he could not even care about sex. That could be the last thing on his mind. There are
because
many people like that.
He has the host to be his creation,
and yeah, that's the one law of the universe. You either one law of all beings in the universe is you're either immortal or you reproduce. That's how you keep staying alive, so to speak. So that's kind of just an interesting little tidbit there.
I definitely think that his observation of Daddy Delos had an effect on his thought process into immortality.
Oh, yeah.
Because he didn't want to be the crazy guy that's destroyed a million times.
Yeah, I mean that, and he did explain that to Bernard, and he said maybe in a year or two they'll have it, but he doesn't want that. Human beings, they, like he said, that we really are. I think they shit on humanity a little too much right now, and that's why I think they're setting us up for a big, big good guy coming up soon, good human. Uh, but I don't want to expand too much further. I want to get Phantom D Saint's comments here before we lose track of him.
Exactly. I was like, wait a minute. Hopefully they don't forget about me. But yeah, I do have to agree with a lot of people's points here. It's like when it comes to stories, they always draw like some part of life into it. And with Ford and creating Maeve, it's like it could be a possibility that he could have had a wife and kid. They died, so he's like he pretty much just recreated them within, the whole Maeve and her daughter aspect of it. Or it could have been the way he envisioned his mother should have been, that he just created Maeve, and that was pretty much his greatest creation, the mother that he wished he always had, type of deal. Like that's how I see it.
Yeah, that's his Frankenstein's monster, in my opinion. His baby, the only thing that might be the only thing besides Jockey ever loved, huh? If because he sincerely doesn't seem to have any love for his family. He's like, yeah, my dad was an asshole. There, you want me to prove it to you? Here's a recreation. He'll be an asshole right to you. Um, it's painful when you think about him. He has to have a painful disposition. There has to be a lot of pain in Ford when you think about it. The fact that if someone that's incapable of love has to be almost incapable of love, has to be somewhat tortured. Let's see, we got some more time. And speaking of tortured, you want to talk about him torturing the man in black and get into that, and then I think we'll get into that and do our season 3 predictions, and I think we're going to do another Ford stream because there's a lot more here. But by that time, we should be about an hour and a half, which I think is good because Indie Geek is alive, and yeah. So, yeah, with that, we'll let BBM go first since I forgot about him a minute ago.
As you're saying that, I pretty much forgot the question, honestly.
I was getting into, let's just kind of expand on our thoughts on the game and how, especially in season 2 with the whole personality profile and what's going on with Ford and the Man in Black.
Okay, now I remember that question. Yeah, pretty much with the whole Ford and Men in Black, it's pretty much an eye for an eye situation. Because he wanted, to create Westworld, just all the parks, so people can, explore his stories. But then here comes, oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the company. Came in, and wanted to do their own thing, wanted to cheat, death in a sense. So now it's pretty much, it was just payback between, the Man in Black and Ford. Well, Ford was payback on the Man in Black. So that was pretty much the whole thing there. And to the point where even when the Man in Black even wanted to come to Westworld to even try to, sell this world, okay, it wasn't me being this evil person, my wife and daughter even envisioned me to the point that he tried to look for the maze. He made sure that he could even find the maze at all. So.
Yeah, and he did kill Ford's baby. Now that we know, and yeah, that's really good point. I mean, it is an eye for an eye, and there you go, another Bible parallel. There's so many of them in here. Aggie, would you like to expand on that and especially get into the how in the hell Ford had a personality profile of MIB too? Let's talk about that a little bit and what could have been done with that possibly.
Well, in regards to the torturing, go ahead.
I was going to say, and also, do you still think Ford killed Juliet?
I think you know the answer to that one. But as far as the torture of the Man in Black, there's got to be a foundation for that. And I think when we see him the very first time when he was talking to Wild Bill and the Greyhound, he tells us the story of the Man in Black before we even know what the process is. He's going to make him run after these little shiny objects and until he's exhausted himself. He's already seen what he's done with the Daddy Delos project and trying to recreate immortality, and how he's frustrated with that over and over and over again, and he keeps chasing it. He doesn't have a redirection option. And I just love the really smart guy trying to figure out this supposed complex person. I mean, 30 years of this, the Man in Black is gone and done, this same project countless times. I just don't understand why he hasn't figured out Ford, that he's controlling it. And it's just funny for me to watch over the last 2 seasons how he's able to do that. And as far as killing Juliet, I 100% guarantee you that Ford killed Juliet. It was just one more thing that pushed the Man in Black over the edge. Guaranteed.
Yeah, there's so many instances there that point to it being a simulation. At least you have the 2 different tubs as well. There's a lot of inconsistencies with that. I could go along with that. I can't say definitive that I necessarily agree with you. I think if what we've seen is any indication of the real truth of his life, she seemed to have had enough problems. But you're right. There's 3 different ways that they say she died. The Man in Black he says it 3 different ways that she died, right? So he's even conflated. But if he's been in the park a year like we think he has, his memory is probably so scrambled right now. That's why he doesn't know where he is. And he could already be in the loop this whole time. And we're just seeing what happened in the past, too. We could get a whole mind fuck like that as well. So that would make sense.
Juliet's comment? She's had a lot of great comments, but
yeah, help me out here because I can't see the chat good because my internet thing, remember?
Yeah. So was killing Maeve the thing that Ford meant Man in Black was overstepping their agreement? In other words, at the bar, he says, you stay on your side, I stay on mine, but you guys are overstepping your bounds. Is that the breaking of their agreement?
Well, he said the project was overstepping his bounds. Now, was the Man in Black already a hybrid at that point? I think not, because the technology wasn't up to date. So, according to Ford, it wasn't the Man in Black. And I don't think it had happened at that point. I think this was possibly a year before Maeve had been killed, at least, I would think. Or something, somewhere in there. Or maybe the Man in Black not long after. No, right after that, though. That's when the Man in Black went and killed Maeve after Juliet got killed. Correct? Right?
Yeah, you're correct. Because even then, if you're saying you're overstepping your bounds, they've been doing like the whole hybrid situation thing when it was like young William. So, and then he only went and killed Maeve like after the death of his wife. So it's like it could have been something that happened there that we just don't know, or he's just simply just tired that they're still doing this project and there has been no success.
So it said one of your creations crossed the line, right? Was that the line? Because if you think about it, what if one of the creations is somebody we think's a host? That's actually an accidental, they accidentally, like one of the prototypes that isn't necessarily straight human. I don't know. Goodness gracious, I'm going down a wormhole here. Go ahead, Kenzie. Get me off of this.
In terms of, I guess, the Ford and Men in Black relationship, when they talk in the finale of season 1, when the Man in Black is very incessant on finding the maze. He's like, what's the answer to the maze? What's the answer to the maze, pretty much. Even though he's not acting like that, he's pretty much doing that type of emotion and that much involved. And he's like, why am I supposed to keep continuing to play a game where my opponents are like programmed to lose? Like the fact that he doesn't get that. And Ford's just like sitting in the back of his head and like internally going, I could make them win, but like with a snap of my fingers, I could make them win. But it makes the whole experience in the park so much different if he lets them win, which kind of leads into the end, in a sense, of when Dolores ends up shooting Ford in the back of the head. But regardless of that, it's just the fact that there are two men who hold kind of similar power strengths, even though Men in Black is majority shareholder. Ford has most control over the narrative storylines and such. So they're kind of like at the same sort of level. And it's like trying to see who can be like higher or lower. Ford is always going to be the higher person in this, because he is master manipulator and master strategist, and that he is just has the control over Men in Black. It may not be like physical control, like and mental control, like with hosts, but he has this sort of like, haha, you think, oh, it's life is so easy, haha, like all of this stuff. When Men in Black almost goes to the breaking point of like, where's the Wyatt narrative, and he basically says it's not meant for you. Like the maze is not meant for you, which is true. But that, and you've been looking at it all along, being in Dolores. He kind of gives him the clues without saying it explicitly, if I remember correctly. So it's like, yeah, it's one of those kinds of things where you have that.
Dolores is
where you have like those two, because they both have a special, I guess, connection with Dolores in a sense. But it's like, haha, it's like I know her better than you do, kind of situation. But anyways, go ahead, Johnny.
I don't know. That makes me think Ford we maybe see a little bit of Ford influence in two places next season. Did everyone get their thoughts in on that question? Did you get your thoughts in? I'm just making sure. And we'll go ahead with season 3 predictions, and I'll kind of go with mine, and hopefully I'm not stealing y'all's because I'm getting kind of on the Ford riding Maeve bandwagon, at least in a partly sense. I think, like you said earlier, AU, we're going to see Maeve slightly being taught by Ford, I'm thinking. If not, she has received the program. That's exactly what Ford has said, that the program's been received. And there's more to the program than that. He unlocked her powers, but I think he's going to guide her, kind of like he guided Bernard, because she's stuck in the park, and she's going to ultimately work her way out. I also can see Ford, when you think about it and you look at Dolores sometimes, I see Ford in Dolores a little bit. The way she studies things, the way she's so cold, her Wyatt persona is what you would think Ford would act like if he went out in Westworld and was his true self. To me, like you could argue that because we really don't know what Ford would do in that situation because he has control over everything and he's so secretive. But that's kind of my thoughts on season 3. We'll see him as another conscious type situation, and we'll see his hand in everything. We'll actually see that things have been manipulated by him in the Delos Corporation and the outside world. Those are my thoughts. And we will go ladies first, or AU will kill me. Kenzie, your season 3 predictions for Ford.
We could possibly see a young version of Ford again. Like we'll have because we don't know if Hopkins is coming back, so we could see the younger version of Ford show up, maybe in like a scene or two, and kind of get like more of the even more of, I guess, the backstory. In a sense, like it doesn't have to be like a huge thing. It would just be like a thing. But I feel like we'll have more development of him. Like, I guess the reference is in code or something. but I feel like we would see maybe Ford in a physical form next season. Like, yes, we'll have him in like the code or in like the pearls or whatever, but we'd probably have him also in physical form to kind of have like the balance of the scales kind of thing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like physical form, because I think Julianne mentioned it. I don't think Ford wants to stay in code for too long, or code for the rest of his life. So, yeah.
That makes sense. I could see them bringing a little bit of young Ford back again. We'd have to see some of him. What do you think, AU? Since BBM likes to insult you, we'll go ahead and let you go first.
I don't think BBM was insulting at all, but Fandom D Saint might have been. So, just kidding. Yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit more about what Mackenzie was talking about with the scales. I'm not sure how that plays into it.
Oh, like I meant like balance of the scales in terms of like seeing him in more of like what the surviving characters know of him, which is majority of them are hosts, and they just like oh, like they don't really know who exactly he is.
Gotcha.
While the people who like it's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it properly. It's
Does
like
he have to be in a physical form? Is that what you're saying? He doesn't really.
Yeah, they kind of know how he was. Well, like they kind of have that part of their memories always wiped, is like when they interact with him in a sense. So because they're dealing with a pearl or whatever, they don't know whose pearl maybe it exactly is. So they have to put it somewhere, or someone will have to put it somewhere. And for that, it could be a young version of someone else. It could be an example, maybe even Aaron Paul, in a sense where they input him into into like the Ford-like person, or if they can't figure that part out, that we will have more of a backstory of Ford's character, and they have like, because they kind of potentially have more to explore with that. Like they could have more of that sort of thing if they're going to go delve deeper into like the Arnold Bernard sort of thing again, because from what I remember, Bernard is like last left on the beach or something, so they may have to reconfigure that kind of thing again, if I remember correctly. And maybe a key point is the whole Ford Arnold situation. But I mean, like that is like you get the physical form and then the encode form. It's like balance of that for the characters and the viewer.
Yeah, we were talking before about Arnold being Tyler Durden, where he was an actual program or a thought process as opposed to being a physical character. And I think that's what we're going to see with Arnold next year, is if we see him at all, will be just a thought in one of their minds. Nothing really like we did. Nothing different than what we saw in season 2, but I really don't want this actor. I'm sorry, what was his name? Aaron Paul. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see him play Ford as a younger person. I really don't. And I don't want to see him
coming out.
Sorry.
I got a new vid coming out. Bubba Husky helped me with. We know exactly who Aaron Paul is playing.
Okay.
Look for it. It'll be out next week.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, I that's my prediction for season 3, is that we don't see Ford being a physical creation, but a thought, similar to season 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. It would make sense for him to be like the Arnold from season 1, almost, that whisper in the head, because we're going to have more hosts becoming conscious. I don't think we're going to just have these couple of hosts. You're going to have a whole colony, There's do you want, 5 hosts ruling the world? I don't think we're going to see that. So that's a very good point. Fandom D Saint. Take it away, my friend.
So for me in season 3, I want a younger version of Ford, but not being played by Aaron Paul, because AU does not want that. But I still want to see like more of flashbacks between young Ford and Arnold, how they were starting up Westworld, because that would be like very interesting to see. Coming since you're gonna have Bernard like going into the human world, like if he's gonna go out and explore like his past or of Arnold, like have flashbacks. Okay, like this is where I was supposed to, start a family with my wife and kid. Or before you can actually bump into his actual wife and see what she might actually think of it all. Because that's much actually still alive, I think. I'm not 100% sure there. So it could be a whole possibilities if they can do that. And at the same time, they can always introduce the young Ford there.
Yeah, well, yeah, there seems to be a few scenarios they've left open where they could throw that back there. What if we saw the Man in Black shoot young Robert, right? We know that they can survive a headshot, and also that the family's missing. What if that's where the hybrid pearl went, and we'll see young Robert next season, and that's how we see Ford? That would be so creepy too. That would be right up the alley of playing with the Ford creepiness too. Oh, I could see that, because it was left there, and they did a still shot on it like it was a really big deal. So I tend to want to try to read more into that, knowing this show. If it was any other show, I wouldn't read as much into that, but I could see that as my tinfoil theory, him coming back as young Robert. The family carried him off, fixed him back up, put the hybrid pearl in him. Something of that nature would be pretty cool.
Can we all confirm that Robert Ford is dead?
Yeah, I agree to that. He's dead.
Yes, he's definitely phically dead.
This ain't the dumpster, AU. We didn't see a dumpster. The dude is dead.
Yeah, if there's a code of his brain waves that are out there, I would say that. Whether that's alive or dead, that's completely up to philosophical debate right there. But physically, technically, yeah, he's dead. He's dead. But he will live on through his work or through some type of weird immortality thing that, in my eyes, we can talk about another time, because we're going to wrap this up shortly, that it doesn't even seem like immortality, right? How are you... There's no process of soul. It's almost like a clone, or just a super clone. Yeah, they have the memories, but would you even
like
know
having
the
a
difference?
tape
Like,
of somebody,
yeah.
It's not them. It's just their voice.
Yeah, and then just it's their voice, everything with all their bad habits put into it. So it's you can definitely see why they wanted to put an end to it. That's where I think they shit the bed on it with that, as far as where the hybrid thing and the immortality thing was going, because but then you'd have to get into how you're gonna transfer a soul and crap like that. So they went a little simpler with it, if you could say that for this dang show. But if anybody have any final thoughts on Ford to wrap up, and then we'll give our outros. If not, I'd like Mackenzie Burns, pretty pleased, to give me some shout outs in the chat, because I can...
Yeah, I guess the final thought that I personally have on it is just Ford knows all, sees all, and will kill you if it suits his own narrative. But for some shout outs, we have Alicia Kingston, Bobby Catalano, A. Packmule, so I don't know who he is. Johnny B. Crazy, another person, I don't know who he is. Doug Sidious, we had see.
Felicia, the Westerosi Ninja popped out. These are ones I'm remembering.
Chrissy
Entertainment Hacker,
Chrissy
Chrissy. Oh,
Oldstone stopped by. Lady Laura Dane.
Peter Griffin.
Peter Griffin.
yes.
Yes, Peter
Always love his
Griffin.
comments.
Was in here. I think
Did you
Elamar
get Dog
stopped
Sidious?
by. Yeah, Dog
Mhm.
Sidious.
Nice.
There's like a
Yeah,
bunch of
Justin
people.
Thomas.
Justin Thomas was in here.
We had some people earlier. Didn't Terry T stop by for a second? Nancy T
Nancy
stopped
Nancy
by for a
T
minute as
and
well.
Entertainment Hacker came by.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of people that were in here today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Especially Bobby. Yeah, is that it, everyone? What y'all want to plug? Go plug it.
I'll go first because ladies first.
That's right.
Me on my channel every Wednesday. As of next Wednesday, we will be doing season 1, episode 10 of Game of Thrones: Fire and Blood on Halloween night around 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And then after that, at some point, we will be doing season 1 recap, talking about season 1 in general and favorite, like all of the stuff that I mentioned earlier. And I believe if you want to, Johnny, you can mention the thing for Kev. And if not on my channel, I'm always on Johnny's channel or someone else's channel, it seems. And I'm very happy that I got to be here today to talk about Ford, the crazy man that he is, with all of you, BBM, AU, and Johnny.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on, Kenzie. BBM. Fandom Saint. Oh.
Oh, for starters, once again, thank you for having me, Johnny Be Crazy. Glad to be talking to AU and Mackenzie once more, as well as the people in the live chat. I am Fandom Saint. If you want to check out my channel, I mainly do reaction, recap, and reviews of several TV shows like The Gifted, which I didn't react to this week because the World Series is on. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but hurry up, Red Sox, so I can return to start reacting back to The Gifted this upcoming Tuesday. Doctor Who season 11, Black Lightning season 2, Supernatural, which airs tonight. So pretty much after this stream, I gotta hurry up and eat and start preparing for that. Along with Legacies, which is also premiering tonight. So it's back to back, almost what? 6, maybe 7 hours of just reacting, recording, editing, and uploading. Hopefully it won't get blocked. Once again, thank you for having me talk about the man who planned it all, Robert Ford.
Wow, you think he's been working on that outro, AU? I think he's been practicing.
I think that's exactly what he's been doing.
Great outro, man. We love having you on Fandom Saint. You are the man. Definitely check out his reactions. AU Packmule, where can we find you? And what's up,
well, if
man?
you just go down the description, you'll see a link to my channel. And thanks for having me on, Johnny. Always fun talking Westworld. I don't know what happened this season, totally off the rails, but I still love talking about the show. The characters are amazing, and it's always fun talking with Mackenzie. She's brings so much of a different perspective for me, and I enjoy your contribution. It's a lot of fun. Fandom Saint, the Funko King. It's always great talking with you. You have an accurate, fun description of what's going on, and I really enjoy it. And Johnny, you're just crazy. You're just freaking crazy. That's all there is to it. All the people in the chat, I love you guys. It's so much fun having you. Give us your ideas. Julianne, you just come up with some great contributions there. Really enjoyed that. All the people that are going to be watching this later, thanks for coming by. Make sure you hit a thumbs up on that like button, and or thumbs down, just depends. No, just kidding. And make sure you come back and leave a comment so Johnny gets rated on his channel a little higher. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that as well, because Johnny's got a lot of great live streams, and he also has great videos too. If you go back to the earlier ones where he's doing them just on his phone, it's just fantastic. Very creative, and glad that I started watching your channel.
Well, thank you, man, and I can't thank you enough for having me on your channel, which kind of honestly really launched my show. I made my first theory video. We'll kind of segue into what we're doing with Justin Thomas on Tuesday. He made me think I was smart in the chat, so I went ahead and made a theory video. So I had a dumb little channel where I just had my dog James Franco on there. So I decided to put a theory video on there, and then AU contacted me, and I can't thank him enough for it. But first and foremost, I'd like to give a shout out to Bridge 4, Kev. He's doing a charity, and it's a donation stream event. Help me out a little bit with it, Kenzie. It's for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, correct?
Yep.
And he's taking donations for questions that will be on live streams on AU Packmule's channel, Justin Thomas's channel, LMR's channel, Mackenzie L. Burns' channel, my channel, and I believe Kev's going to do one on his channel too, right?
Yeah.
And it's all going to charity. Everything's in the comments. The links work now, I swear. And it is for a great cause. Please check it out.
It should be starting up relatively soon. Just needs to figure out some date, but it should be relatively soon. And any question, I think, is accepted. I think, and it's for a good cause, and all the money goes directly to the charity. There's no go between link. It just will go directly to the charity. All you have to do is just leave a comment, show up, support, even if you're just in the chat, just like supporting this great initiative that Kev started is just awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Any support with that is amazing. Just anything you can do to help out. It doesn't even have to be money, like Kenzie said. It's all for the cause. And Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We can't forget about that. Halloween coming up tomorrow. I have Cylon Johns with John St. Baptiste, Clarissa Thompson, Amy True, and Bobby Catalano. Also, my Vanna White, Mackenzie L. Burns, as she calls herself. Don't think I just named her that. That's right. Can I get an L? We'll be doing it it's at 9 Eastern is when we start. Spoiler-free rewatch, Act of Contrition, Season 1, Episode 4. It's going to be really great. It's a all first-time watcher panel. Me and John sit there. We're going to sit there and twirl our mustaches a little bit and listen to what they have to say. We're doing a little bit of different format this week. We're going to let the first-timers basically do the stream while we just lead them a little bit. And every Monday, me and John are going to do like a 45-minute to an hour stream where we actually completely break down the episode. As me being, I've watched it before, we'll call it, the host and the expert or something, because John's the expert and he can really break it down well. We're going to be putting out really good content. Go check that out. Also, the Justin Thomas stream will be live October 30th at 7 p.m. Central, and it's works that inspired Westworld, everything from Aldous Huxley to Alice in Wonderland and more, all the literary references. AU Packmule is going to be on there with me, as well as Cameron Strahan, who is an extremely intelligent man. AU, can you expand on that a little bit? What's his background in? It's extremely smart and makes me feel very inferior.
Yeah, just saying what he studies is it's like astrophysics. It just hurts your brain. So yeah, he's very smart and definitely going to be a big contributor to the live stream.
So don't forget to check that out. Don't forget to check. Everyone in the chat has channels. If they don't, they will. Literally check everyone out. And we love you, everyone. for coming out. And thank you so much to my panelists. And we'll have to do a part 2 of Ford because there's so much there. Because we got to get into Akecheta, right? That's what I thought. All right, everyone. We'll talk to y'all later. Good night.